So far on this channel we've forecast Switch 2 features, Switch 2 release dates, but the most important part of the games console is, well, the games. So even though we don't know when the next console releases, even though we don't know for sure what it can do, we can logic our way to a credible lineup for the first year after launch by looking at where Nintendo studios are and which franchises are being loud and which are being oddly quiet. So join me and let's see if we can make some solid Nintendo Switch 2 predictions. What games are coming out on the console? So let's first define the launch year as a 12-month window rather than a calendar year. Whenever it releases, this includes one holiday season and a launch window title which may or may not be the same thing. Where do we start? Well, we can guarantee a minimum of 2 Mario games, possibly 3. A new 3D Mario game is as close to a lock as can be imagined, and I'm putting that straight in as a 90% chance. New Nintendo systems and new 3D Mario are perfect partners. It's difficult to think that a new Mario Kart will be far behind. True, Smash Bros. Was saved as a marquee title of the second holiday season, but would Nintendo really sacrifice a year of surefire sales on the next Mario Kart? I think a new Mario Kart in the first 12 months has to be a 90% chance as well. But it's closing on a decade since Mario Kart 8 shipped, and Yabuki's EPD9 group have been quiet for a long time. Yes, they've done a lot on Mario Kart Tour, but one game in 6 years is way lower than their previous output. This means that we could expect not one, but 2 EPD9 titles, Mario Kart and perhaps another game from them. In 2017, they brought us ARMS, and they also have a track record with Nintendogs. My hunch is that if, as I speculated separately, VR and augmented reality are a big part of the next console's unique hook, then Nintendogs is going to be a slam dunk for Nintendo. But equally, it could be a completely original game from EPD9. I'd say an EPD9 game besides Mario Kart is at least a 50% chance, and if I had to guess as to likelihoods, I'd say if there were going to be a different game, Nintendogs is the one that they would pick. Speaking of original games, it's a fair shout that EPD4 will once again pony up an original title that utilises the console's tech in surprising ways. These guys, remember, gave us 1-2-Switch, Labo, and Ring Fit Adventure. A title from them, probably at launch, to show what the console can do feels nearly certain. Apart from anything else, they've released a game most years on Switch, so it's difficult to think they won't continue being similarly prolific on the next console. I'm putting a game from EPD4 at a 90% chance too. From here though, it gets a little trickier. First of all, Nintendo needs to capture core gamers, and so they want impressive, graphically strong games from their studios. A look at 2017 tells us who they turned to. Monolith Soft, Team Ninja. Is it too soon for a Monolith title? Perhaps. They're still releasing DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But what about a remake of Xenoblade Chronicles X? Just like they remade Xenoblade Chronicles in the interim between Xenoblades 2 and 3. Or there have been rumours of an original Monolith title not in the Xenoblade sequence for years. I'd say some kind of Monolith Soft offering in the first 12 months has to be a 70% likelihood. They're one of Nintendo's premier graphical powerhouse teams, and I can imagine that they would love to get their hands on the new technology of the sequel system. And then there's Warriors games, which have been releasing at a steady cadence on Switch every 2 to 3 years, so another one, perhaps a Hyrule Warriors title building off assets created for Tears of the Kingdom, would make sense. Again, I'm going to put this at 70%. But there are 2 more graphical powerhouse studios for Nintendo now, Retro Studios and Next Level Games. Now, Next Level Games dropped Luigi's Mansion in 2019 and kind of rushed Mario Strikers Battle League out of the door in summer 2022, which was a slight acceleration of their usual 3-yearly pace, perhaps reflecting the fact that since Nintendo bought them out, they've been building up the company in order to give them more capacity to build more games. 2025 is when I would usually expect another major title from them, but 2024 is conceivable given what Nintendo has done to develop them as a company. My hunch though is that Nintendo will want them to be handling Luigi's Mansion 4 for the new console, given that Luigi's Mansion 3 has turned into such a terrific evergreen seller for them, and since it makes no sense for a new Mario title and Luigi's Mansion title to be clashing with each other during the first year, Next Level will probably not have a major game for the first year of the new console, although it's possible to imagine them doing a lower key title with a second team, perhaps a remaster of the Wii Punch-Out title, cross-gen with the original Switch. I'll put it at a 30% chance that there's an offering from Next Level Games in the first 12 months, but I'm not willing to be any more specific or committal than that. Retro Studios though. Look, Even if Metroid Prime 4 launches for Switch, I can't believe they won't encourage double dipping with a special edition on the new console. With Tears of the Kingdom, I can maybe see they wouldn't want to gild the lily by selling it twice, since its sales numbers will be mammoth to start with, and even though it would make them serious money, they may be cautious about exploiting such a large install base in such a blatant manner. But Metroid Prime 4 fans are rabidly excited for any success for their game, and so I'm sure it's a no-brainer way to recoup the game's considerable development costs to release a new version on the new system. I'm going to say at this point it's a 70% chance that some form of Metroid Prime 4 hits the new system, whether it be a release in tandem with the Switch version or whether it be an upgraded version later on. I would say that if, as seems likely, Mercury Steam are working on a new Metroid game, that could also be a contender for the first year, but all things considered, if Metroid 6 does grace the new system, it'll probably be 2025 if it follows the 4-year gap between Samus Returns and Metroid Dread. If this idea thrills you as it does me, whack a like on the video in support of Samus returning again. I think it's an outside shot that a new Metroid game comes within the first year though, since COVID aggravated development, and there was a lot of speculation that Dread was actually done considerably earlier than it was released and may have been held over to coincide with the release of the OLED model. Especially if Nintendo want to ride the Metroid hype train big time, let's whack that at a 30% chance that the next Mercury Steam Metroid title hits within the 12-month window following the release of the sequel system to the Switch. And another team who will draw in core audiences is Platinum. Astral Chain 2 seems highly likely and would benefit from a new system, I'm sure, giving it even more graphical power. Platinum have been long-time collaborators with Nintendo, and there's no reason to think, after the mammoth success of the Switch, that they will want to break this fruitful partnership. I think there is a 70% chance that Platinum will have a game in the first 12 months, and I'd say there's at least a 30% chance that this game is Astral Chain 2, since the original game was a respectable, if small-scale hit, and, unlike Bayonetta, Nintendo co-own it, surely making them that much more interested in nurturing it to greater heights. Other surefire games? Well, Kirby. Kirby didn't actually make the Nintendo Switch's first year, with Kirby Star Allies releasing just a smidge outside the 12-month mark, but nobody got poor betting on the pink puffball, so I think a new Kirby game has to be a strong chance to feature, even if it's only an eShop title, or a quickie port, or a simultaneous release with a Switch game. I'm putting a new Kirby at a 70% chance. Another game that's almost a guarantee is Splatoon 4. Yes, Splatoon 3 seems like it only just splatted in, but Nintendo turns these games around quickly. Splatoon 2 was 2 years after the first one, and from launching Animal Crossing New Horizons, it was just over 2 years before the team pushed out Splatoon 3. Given that EPD5 work on both Animal Crossing and Splatoon, there is a chance they work on either next, but my hunch is that they prioritise the more competitive multiplayer Splatoon 4 over new Animal Crossing, which benefits from a larger install base and particularly focuses on pushing handheld games. Honestly, I'm really confident with this forecast because I think Splatoon is a huge game for Nintendo that they're going to want to keep pushing and pushing, so I'm going to say a Splatoon 3 sequel in the first 12 months of the new system is a 90% chance. Let's mosey on over through to Intelligent Systems. A new Fire Emblem team-up with Koei Tecmo after Three Houses seems possible. Strategy games have had a real renaissance on Switch, but I don't know if there's any reason to hold a game like this over to the new console instead of using it to exploit the already massive Switch install base. Paper Mario is another likelihood, as new games released like clockwork every 4 years, and it's not impossible they could drop WarioWare or even an eShop title like Pushmo. Given how many games they have in development at once, I think there's a 50% chance Intelligent Systems release something on the new system in its first year, but because we don't know the release window just yet, and because in the past they have avoided the first year of a new console, perhaps taking the time to get to know it, it's very difficult to say when they're going to be due. Then there's Goodfeel, who have been very quiet. My hunch is that if they are still working on Nintendo titles after the rather muted reception of the anemic Yoshi's Crafted World, it will probably arrive sooner and on Switch, rather than a sequel system. However, another smaller studio, Camelot, will be due in 2024, and if they're releasing a game on the new system, it will almost certainly be Mario Tennis. However, I have another video deep diving Camelot Software Planning coming up, a company that has produced some of my favourite games of all time, but for now, I'll put Goodfeel or Camelot releasing a new game in the first 12 months at a combined 50% likelihood. So there you have it, that's your lineup. 3D Mario, Mario Kart, some kind of tech demo game from EPD4, Metroid Prime 4 Deluxe, plus probably at least 2 of Hyrule Warriors 3, a Monolith Soft title, and a Platinum game that could be Astral Chain 2, plus a reasonable shout at Kirby and Fire Emblem. You can look back at these predictions in years to come to see how well I did, but you know what? This is your opportunity to put your own marker down. Get into the comments, tell me your predictions so that you can secure the ultimate bragging rights in years to come. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, take care and have a fantastic day.